dissolving the mysteries of consciousness. Consciousness is a brain process. It cannot float around in space by itself. Every so-called thing is a process, an event, some of which may continue for a long time, like a tree or the sun. The content in consciousness correlates to what the brain has already analyzed and produced in the subconscious. This neural voting being quick, but not instant, taking about 300 to 500 milliseconds. So, consciousness is not live, but a kind of tape-delayed broadcast, ever showing the just past. Thus, consciousness does not cause anything right then and there, for it arrives too late in the process. This rather tricks us into thinking that consciousness is in control, as directly causal. The consciousness brain process is ever ongoing. Other interested brain areas will respond with their products, and so it goes, even into long ruminations. Conscious is compositional. It is structured with many phenomenological distinctions. It is intrinsic as one's own, as independent. It is informational, as particular and specific. It is integrated and whole, as unified and no longer reducible. It is exclusive, as having definite content, no more and no less. It is subjectively felt. In addition to the referral already mentioned, there is mental unity, as experienced as a unified field, whereas its sources are all over the brain. There are qualia, as the felt qualities of sensory consciousness. It has continuity, as the seamless stitching of the ongoing changing contents. Mental causation. How can consciousness itself right then and there, an intangible, unobservable, and fully subjective entity, cause material neurons to direct behaviors that change the world? Subconscious brain analysis, taking 300 to 500 milliseconds to complete, is all done and finished in its result before consciousness gets hold of the product. Consciousness has uses and advantages over such as reflexes or all-purpose schemes, for it grants flexibility of reaction, as we're better able to react to conscious content in our further subconscious decisions beyond just the automatic reflex-like responses triggered by non-conscious content. There's focus, as selective attention allows the brain to focus its activity on what's important, so that our subconscious decisions can attend to that foremost. It grants evaluations. The feelings make one aware of what is good or bad, from both emotions and logic. It grants survival value, as complex decisions are possible. We have behavioral flexibility, as unlimited associated learning combines multiple cues into a single perception. There's discrimination, making small perceptual differences possible, such as between good and poisonous food. For diversification of species, such as in the Cambrian explosion, and a kind of evolutionary arms race in finding new ways to avoid detection, spurring predators to become more sophisticated. Beauty appears, such as plants evolving colorful flowers to attract pollination. For actionizing is the pondering of the consequences of scenarios before committing to action. There is reality out there, for sure. We have senses to take it in, as pure. The brain paints a useful face upon it, such as colors for wave frequencies, etc.
Consciousness is ever a brain process, one which can be halted nevertheless by anesthesia, poison, or drugs, a blow to the head, a faint, or by sleep. Change the brain and consciousness changes too. Take drugs and the emotions change anew. Damage the brain and the mind's damaged too. Consciousness emerges only from the brain. In identifying consciousness, we often confuse what is floating in the stream of consciousness with the water itself. Thus, we note not the sea in which we see. The brain interprets reality and puts a face on the waves of sound, light, color, touch, and a sense on molecules smell and taste. Consciousness is the brain's perception of itself. Consciousness mediates thoughts versus outcomes and is distributed all over the body, from the nerve spindles to the spine to the brain. a way to actionize without moving. Physics describes well the extrinsic causes, while consciousness exists just for itself, as the intrinsic, compositional, informational, whole, and exclusive, as the distinctions toward survival, though causing nothing except in itself, as in ne'er doing but only as being, leaving intelligence for the doing.
The posterior cortex holds correlates, for this is the only brain region that can't be removed for one to still retain consciousness, it having feedback in it. Thusly, it presents a unified whole, and this whole forms consciousness directly, a process fundamental in nature, or it's the brain's own symbolic language. The whole can also be well spoken of to communicate with others, as well as globally informing other brain states, for non-conscious states know not what's been formed.